Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we'll be taking a look at effective communication of product sustainability information and some of the drivers and opportunities for product sustainability. My name is Stephen Kennett and I look after the supply chain channel here at 2 Degrees. I'm delighted to welcome our presenters today. Joining us from PE International, we have Jane Anderson, who will give us an overview of effective communication of product sustainability, and also Sarah Boyd, who's going to talk about HP's innovative product sustainability reporting program. We're also very fortunate to be joined by Charles Robinson, Operations and Sustainability Analyst at ASSA ABLOY, who give us an insight into what they're doing as an organisation. Today's presentations will last around 40 to 45 minutes, which will leave us with 10 to 15 minutes for questions at the end. Before we begin, I'd just like to remind everyone that you can submit questions throughout the webinar using the Q&A box at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Just type in your question and press send, and then we'll wait till the end before answering as many as we can. As an aside, if anyone should have any technical issues during the webinar, please use the chat box on the right-hand side to send me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So without any further delay, I'd like to hand over to Jane, who will get us started with today's presentations. So Jane, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I come from PE International. My focus there is on construction and building. But as a company, we're the global leader in enterprise and product level sustainability solutions. And we work with all sectors of industry. So I think you'll see that from both Sarah and I, the different experience that we bring. As a company, we provide tools using a platform which provides both data, software and services. And you may have come across some of our software tools, for example, Gabby, the LCA, lifecycle assessment software and databases. But unlike most of our competitors, because of our consultancy, we bring a much bigger industry insight into our tools and the work that we do, and that really gives us the scope to scale sustainable business with our customers. And just as an indication, these are some of the customers that we work with across all the different sectors. So it really is a multinational, multi-sector organisation. So, effective communication of product sustainability. I think you're probably going to see a slide with a lot of labels like this more than once in this presentation. We're currently, it's an interesting time. There is a lot of environmental information out there about products. The difficulty is in being able to use it and make sense of it. But what we really need, certainly as consumers or as businesses which are consuming, to really be able to understand this data and for it to be useful for us. Ideally, we want information that covers the full product lifecycle. We don't want hidden impacts to not be disclosed, so someone focuses on one part of the product lifecycle, but just omits to tell us about something significant somewhere else. It's good to have third-party audits or verification of data to be sure that it's actually legitimate, based on science. I think that's obvious. Transparent information, so it's clear what it does actually include, how it's been calculated, what methods have been used. That's becoming increasingly relevant. And ideally covering more than one indicator. So single issue data, it's relevant in some cases, but generally you want to be sure that just because you, for example, increase the recycled content of a product, that it doesn't have adverse environmental impact somewhere else in the product life cycle. And quantifiable data, if we can provide numbers, it's a lot easier to use than potentially just a label or some information that describes something. But just having numbers is not great. Really, in terms of communicating as companies and as people that are trying to use this communication, they need to understand how your product compares to other products. We need to start having benchmarks out there And for the people that are communicating this data, it's not just about handing over the piece of paper or even knowing that the piece of paper exists. It's really understanding what that piece of paper says and how it can be used. So we're increasingly providing training to sales and marketing staff of companies to actually explain how to use the data that's generated, for example, from product lifecycle assessments or environmental product declarations. And just as an idea or an indication of the kind of the problems that we have, at the moment there are a lot of environmental product declarations out there, for example, for flooring, but there's an awful lot of numbers, and it's not always clear how you can make comparisons between them. And then on the other hand, you have eco-labels for flooring. So you have products, timber flooring, linoleum flooring, stone flooring, that there are criteria set based on life cycle assessment as to what is a good product. But the difficulty is that the eco-label doesn't help you to decide whether you should use a stone floor or a timber floor or the linoleum, which of those are more environmentally friendly. It only tells you if you want one of those, how to find a product in that particular product group. But with EPDs, the data is there to actually be able to do that. What we need to do is to start giving people more understanding of what that data actually means and how they can use that. Just in terms of what's driving this need for environmental information, certainly in the construction sector, we've got an increasing focus on providing level data at the building level covers environmental issues, and that's been thought about by the building councils generally developing sort of methods of assessment. As you can see, that's just steadily increasing globally. But we're still in a situation where in the UK, Green and LEED in the US are the kind of leading schemes that are driving this kind of agenda and are really making a difference in terms of the amount of environmental information that's actually out there for construction products. And you can see, if you look at the difference between LEED 2009 and LEED version 4, which came out last year, there's been a real focus and change from single issue aspects like recycled content and bio-based content through to actually providing product declarations, product LCA, looking at responsible sourcing, transparency, and actually kind of eco-label type, is it a good example of a product, certification of that, moving much more to a kind of quantifiable, understandable, multi-criteria approach there. And all of these schemes are now looking at building LCA, which is really good. If you like, for the construction industry, the building is the eventual product. That's what we really need to make sure has a reduced impact going forward. The other thing which is making a big difference in construction is BIM, building information modelling, and the ability to actually we've worked with Autodesk and Timberlake, an American architect, who developed a tool called Cali, an LCA tool, which works in Revit as a plugin, and it links to our LCA data, so you can basically get a real-time LCA assessment of your building in comparison with different options, as you're designing it and make changes in the Revit model, and this is suddenly making use of EPD data much easier. It's not a question of looking at loads of numbers and trying to understand it. You can actually put that data into your building model and really understand how different products impact at the building level. And so that's really, again, driving change in terms of how people are using the data. The other type of environmental information, this is not just in construction, but across all products, the European Commission are driving the product environmental footprint effectively as a way to give consumers information that isn't misleading, environmental information that isn't misleading about products, to enable them to select products with lower environmental impact across the life cycle. and they're currently piloting those projects across a number of different sectors, including construction. And the aim of that is that these pilot products will look at how this type of assessment can be implemented, what sorts of data can be communicated in that. And effectively, the Commission has said that if voluntary use of these footprints doesn't work, then regulation will come. They will be looking at people having to do this if it doesn't really work voluntarily. So this is definitely moving forward. For construction, there's always an interesting question of how does PEF and the EPD standards that the industry spent a long time developing for construction products, how do they interact? I think there was concern initially that it would be a bit of a fight, but this side comes from the European Commission. And here he's saying it isn't actually going to be a fight. They actually want them to work together. They really recognise that the construction industry has spent a long time developing EPDs and a consistent methodology that can be used across all the products, and that really works in terms of allowing the way that products, you put cement and aggregates into concrete products that you then use with other types of products like timber, plasterboard, for example, to make a building. So the data has to be consistent and comparable. So I think hopefully we will end up in a situation where we have the best of both worlds going forward, and we should have a better system at the end of it, which would be good. Just to kind of summarise in terms of communicating, and we've talked about providing this information so that consumers can use it to understand how products, what impact they have, and how they can look at different products. But as an organisation, if you do this, you do get information in order to help you target impact reductions. You can actually make a better product as a result of doing an environmental product declaration. It gives you that information. It brings focus to engagement with the supply chain. You need to talk to the people that supply you with raw materials to understand what impacts they have and how you can reduce them as well as your own impact. And it allows people to actually make meaningful and transparent comparisons of different types of products. So that's really where I'm coming from. But we now have two presentations from projects that actually worked with industry. So I'll hand over to my colleague Sarah, who's been working with Hewlett Packard, and she can tell you all about how it's working now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jane. I'm going to be talking today about HP's innovative product sustainability reporting program, specifically their Environmental Product Declaration, or EPD program, and how they've reduced costs and increased responsiveness to the market, gained and maintained access to institutional procurement customers, and seen other benefits through the use of a semi-automated software-enabled EPD generation system. And I'm going to be referencing EPEAT throughout this webinar, and if this is an unfamiliar standard, it's a US originated standard. I put up a blog posting yesterday to give some more background on the EPEAT set of standards, and I can also answer any questions about that at the end in the Q&A. The sustainability program at HP is driven by commitments not only at the C-level, but also at the critical senior management level. And their proactive position on sustainability has allowed HP to cut the cost and time required to be responsive to customer demands for environmental information. And specifically, what we'll be talking about today, demands for EPEAT certification of products. The primary driver of their LCA and EPD activity at HP is design for environment, the improvement of environmental performance of their products. The approach that we're describing today allows HP scientists to focus their development on environmental performance early on in the design process, with guidance from a tool that that gives them results on environmental analyses that span HP's line of imaging products. Their EPD program also naturally allows them to communicate using EPDs, which have become a dominant form of environmental product communication, and customers value that credibility. Third, and the primary business driver for this activity is market recognition and market access. There are many institutional customers who can or will only buy products which meet EPD requirements or meet EPD Gold or Silver status. The fourth motivation is that preparing LCAs and EPDs for their products allow HB to be prepared for potential emerging regulatory or eco-label requirements, for example, PEF or Grinnell or Walmart's environmental purchasing criteria. And finally, their EPD program allows them to meet the customer where they are. Users and customers are interested in understanding the environmental performance of printing because the use of paper is so evident to the user. The customer feels that they're using trees or killing trees, and there's a real interest and concern out there about the environmental implications of printing. And LCAs and EPDs allow HP to provide the environmental information that customers are looking for. This product sustainability program faces certain challenges with a portfolio of over 10,000 imaging products ranging from consumer-level inkjet printers, desktop printers, to high-speed office laser jets with scanners and faxes integrated, and an ever-evolving portfolio due to customer and regulatory demands when they have customers in over 100 countries and a global supply chain for their components. Time and expense were also a challenge to be overcome. HP needed a short turnaround time in order to get EPD certification in time for market release. So there was a short amount of time between when the model was finalized and when the EPD certification needed to be verified. And an LCA from scratch for each product was not feasible, and it also wasn't necessary because there was an opportunity to leverage that was clear from the beginning. And because we were doing so many LCAs, it was clear that there was an opportunity to leverage, but it was a real puzzle to figure out how exactly we could do that when we needed a model that would be flexible enough to cover a wide variety of imaging products, from desktop inkjets to desktop laser jets to scanners. And the solution was a modular approach. And this is a little bit of detail about the modularity of the product models in GABI. There have been two main models for laser jets and for inkjets. And the modularity reflects more or less the product options as they're available to the customer. The system is based on GABI Envision, a web-based interface which lives in the cloud. And the key feature of having a web-based tool like this is that it allows fast feedback for design environment. It allows the user to view and modify materials and use phase scenarios so that they can get insights quickly to inform design. And it's a key difference from a typical LCA, which will be done at the end of the design of a product. The model has been set up to meet HP's immediate and also longer-term needs. It covers all printer components, consumables, and inputs. It includes all of the LCA phases, and it's flexible to allow modules to be added for future products. And finally, it meets the immediate need of generating an ISO and PCR compliant EPD for EPD registration. Reusing a parameterized LCA tool allows us to minimize the workload into 5 steps. The first is collecting data from bills of materials and product measurements, then QC and reviewing of mass totals from top-down versus bottom-up measurements, importing the parameter values into the Gabby Envision tool, which is done by cut and paste or by uploading from Excel, calculation of impact results, and finally, the printing of the environmental product declaration from the Gabby tool. The boundaries, what is included and excluded from the life cycle study, are dictated by the product category rules, but there's also enough versatility in the model to allow design for environment applications or to model use in global markets to reflect the EU or Asia Pacific in particular, for example. Here we have an example of what the tool looks like on the user end. You can see that this allows HP, across the top are the different product models. And these printers have similar parts but varying subsystems. On the left are the parameters that are modified by a user. And the key benefit here is that you can use one model to analyze all of these different types of printers, meaning that the results are consistent and comparable among one another, which allows you to get insight into trends among your many product models and among the many printer models that we were analyzing. Looking at the full LaserJet portfolio and grouping the printers by application, here we are viewing the full life cycle of the average of printers within each application group. And we can begin to see some patterns emerging. In dark purple are the consumables. These are the laser cartridge and paper, largely. And electricity use is the use phase electricity when the printer is running on the consumer side in dark gray. End of life is in a light gray, which is a very small contribution to the total. And production is in blue. Transport is also a very small contribution to the total in orange. To allow clearer comparison, here we have the impacts per 1,000 printed pages. And the color coding is the same here. The lessons learned for each application group show that the hotspots are consumables across all application types. So this is dominated by paper. It includes paper and the printer cartridge, but it is largely dominated by the paper. Followed by power consumption, and power consumption for small team and desktop products is a key hotspot. And printer production is a large contributor for small team and desktop color models for that application group. So far, HP has produced EPDs for about 80 LaserJet products spanning the entire portfolio, 15 inkjet products spanning a wide variety of their portfolio, and 5 scanner products, which are also very diverse. Key findings include the conclusions that consumables remain the largest source of environmental impact for printing, that power consumption and production of the printer are still significant impacts for lighter application LaserJet products, and that the inkjet portfolio has lower impact than the LaserJet overall when looking from the perspective of HP's entire business. These findings have helped HP to focus their sustainability program and to reduce impacts across the life cycle most effectively. They've been working with their customers to help them print more efficiently, and they have focused efforts on making design changes to reduce cartridge impacts, which is a contributor to the consumables life cycle phase. The strengths that HP has seen in this software-enabled approach are flexibility. HP can conduct LCA or generate EPD for a wide variety of imaging products, consistent data and model assumptions for all reports, reproducibility and audit trail, and one review process for AD reports, which is really key in reducing the timeline for your EPDs and LCAs. Transparency and harmony with the ISO standards for LCA and EPDs, the ISO 1440 and 1435 standards. HP was the first large ICT company to publish their complete carbon footprint, and the first to consider Scope 3. And as you can see, the ability to model your Scope 3 emissions is key to understanding the big picture, and for a company like HP with products which are complex to produce and also consume energy on the consumer side, the impacts of what HP does are largely outside of their walls, and that's very important for them to understand. HP has also conducted a full water footprint, including Scope 3. And the key benefits overall for this program have been that it has enabled HP to become the first IT company to fully understand its carbon footprint, including Scope 3, and to get that full picture view. HP has also been able to maintain a truly cutting-edge design for environment program, and it allows them to improve products early in the design process, which is a rarity. Having a fast EPD program that can inform design rather than just report results is a rarity. And this software-enabled approach has allowed them to also cut the time and cost to produce EPDs and to earn EP status. And finally, most importantly, from a business perspective, HP is meeting customer demand for environmental information, and their EPD program ensures access to the entire market. Using EPD registration and achieving EPD Gold and Silver status allows them to gain and keep large institutional buyers, which require EPD. And that is the conclusion of my section. And I will be passing over to Charles.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Charles Robinson. I'm the Operations and Sustainability Analyst for ABLOY in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I'll just be going through a few slides on our experience with product sustainability so far and the role of EPDs. I'll just introduce a little bit about ASSA ABLOY and who we are, some trends we've seen in sustainability, and what ASSA ABLOY is doing to react to those trends. So for those of you who don't know ASSA ABLOY, our group is about 20 years old. So in 1994, two companies came together, ASSA from Sweden and ABLOY in Finland, to found the group ASSA ABLOY. In the 20 years since, we have grown to in excess of 200 companies within the group. Some of our brands you may recognize a bit more locally, so the likes of Yale, Union, Multilock, and of course ASSA and ABLOY themselves. So we've grown in sales from around about $500 million in 1994 to in excess of 7.7 billion in 2014. So as you can see, it's quite a rapid growth. We started out quite traditionally as a mechanical company, so it's dealing with mechanical locks. We recognize ourselves as the global leader in door opening solutions, and look to provide complete door opening solutions for our customers. So we've moved on. Obviously mechanical locks are still a core part of our business, but we're driving more and expanding into doors electromechanical solutions, access control, and everything that goes around the door. So if we look at just some trends within the construction sector, sustainability trends over the last few years, and so I suppose to take a step back, I think a few years ago it all started out with lots of terms, about environmental footprint and talk about carbon footprint, greenhouse gas emissions, and for many of us it was kind of like another language and very overwhelming. I think with a little bit of education, you can actually find where the opportunity is for your company. We've seen the rapid growth in the rise of green buildings, and as Jane pointed out in one of her slides, they come from the green building councils around the world, and some of the more well-known green building assessment methods. So we have LEED, BREEAM, and DGNB in Central Europe. So effectively, these green building assessment methods give certifications as to pretty much how sustainable a building is. So LEED, for example, is you've certified silver, gold, or platinum status. So within ASSA ABLOY, we saw the growth and importance of sustainability, the growth of green buildings, and these green building assessment methods. And we had to try and understand how we best fit into the picture there within the construction sector. So as you can see on the left-hand side of the slide, there are literally hundreds of sustainable certificates that are out there, and many of them will tell you the same thing. But really, when it comes down to an environmental product declaration, it is the only international fully comprehensive disclosure of the environmental impact of a product. It's based on ISO standards and more recently EN 15804. So it's EPDs based on this level are internationally recognizable, which can't be the same about many of the other green certificates that are out there. A really important point that we recognize, and part of our focus as to why we our drive to developing EPDs is that EPDs can help green building projects to earn more points in the green building assessment. So if you have more and more building components that have EPDs that contribute towards the points, the end customer will actually get an improved certificate level for the building. So instead of what may have been just a silver or gold, they can get up to platinum status. So we had to figure out how we fit in there. So just very quickly about ASSA ABLOY and sustainability. Sustainability is not something new for ASSA ABLOY. We have been reporting according to GRI standards since 2006. We began with 64 reporting entities, and this year now we're in excess of 327 reporting entities. We have a sustainability audit program whereby we will audit greater than 95% of our suppliers to ensure that they adhere to our code of conduct and standards. We have an anti-bribery policy in place, and then also we have a sustainability program to 2015. So this is where it was set up in 2011. So based on 2010 figures, we're aiming to reduce our operational footprint by around about 15% across numerous indicators. So, for example, energy, waste, water, carbon, improvement in health and safety figures, and so on. So we looked within our product portfolio to see, do we have any existing energy efficient or low environmental impact solutions, and we found that we actually do. So on the left hand side we have a energy efficient door closer, an energy efficient electric strike, our thermally efficient doors on the right hand side. On the top right, so we have doors that are manufactured from rapidly renewable raw material that have high thermal efficiency properties as well. Also then, when we look towards our electromechanical and access control solutions, we have energy management in our ASSA ABLOY hospitality division, energy efficiency, revolving doors in our entrance systems, and then we won the award for the best in green solutions at ISC West for the power over Ethernet access control solution. So we've identified that we have some sustainable solutions. We've identified a need for EPDs so that we can access these green building markets. But ASSA ABLOY, as we've seen on the first slide, is quite a large group. So we need to have a bit of a program of how we're going to integrate EPDs into ASSA ABLOY. So we need to develop a corporate strategy to generate EPDs. So we decided that we'd need a pilot to start out. Our second phase or second wave of EPD generation, where we would select an increased number of products to develop EPDs for. But ultimately where we want to get to is to have an automated EPD generator. We would like to have EPDs for all of our products and for our customers to be able to generate these EPDs seamlessly. So I think quite similar to what HP have in place now. They can rapidly develop life cycle analyses and then EPDs from that. But we need a series of steps and a plan in order to get there. It doesn't just happen overnight. So we have a sustainable products board. Effectively, this is an international council, and I represent EMEA on the council. So we have representatives from each of our division. We agree that the best route forward, and then we develop the roadmap in order to achieve that. This includes in the training of management. We want to educate our management, so communicate the sustainability efforts internally within ASSA ABLOY. Educate our marketing and sales force, and into the sustainable attributes of our products. And then the next stage is we have some lead and BREEAM training, where some of our employees effectively go out and earn credentials based on lead. Now, as we've seen, we've been reporting according to GRI since 2006, and we identified that it makes sense to link our corporate sustainability and product sustainability to be more efficient between the two. And the reason we're doing that is many of the indicators that we use to develop EPDs are actually indicators that we've already been measuring as part of GRI. So we have built up to where we had separate systems and people reporting at different intervals. Now we have one central system, and it's based actually on PE International SOFI software. So it gives us one single platform where we can report all of our corporate sustainability metrics, but also work towards product sustainability, which would be used then to drive our life cycle analysis and develop our EPDs. We needed to map out our EPD pilot project. What is it that we needed to do in order to get us off the ground? We're a large group, so we could have started anywhere. So we had to be quite strategic about our starting point and what were going to be the steps to get to this EPD generator that we wanted to have further down the road. As I just mentioned, it was important to have a coordinated sustainability reporting. So we now all have all divisions reporting on a quarterly basis. And then also it was important to integrate this into R&D, so to make it a part of the innovation process, which I'll touch on a little bit later on. So the EPD generator, and just this is our concept of what it is that we're working towards. We're a large company, but our customers want the flexibility to be able to generate the third-party certified EPD quickly. At the moment, it's taking several months possibly to generate an EPD. We want to be able to turn it around almost instantly. So first step is our pilot project. So these are developing the EPD generic model. So for our different product groups, developing the life cycle analysis templates. We're on to the second phase now, where we have EPDs as a service, working with PE International. Ultimately, where we want to get to is use a PDM central system. So it pulls the product data in line with our SolidWorks CAD systems, working with the GABI software from PE International, as well as our SOFI, and ultimately get to that point where we can seamlessly generate a fully certified EPD. And a massive advantage of doing this, one is time, but also as well as cost. Because we get to a point where we'll verify the process and not each EPD separately, which is actually can be quite costly. So if we certify the process, then everything that comes from that process is automatically certified. So there's a massive saving as well as time saving there. So naturally enough, we couldn't skip directly to a PDM based EPD generators as much as that what we would have liked. So we started out this time last year with our pilot phase. We selected 5 product groups from around the world. Selected 5 product groups from around the world and developed those EPDs at the end of last year. We're now into our phase 2, where we have identified either from market requirements or some of our flagship products, and we'll around the group as a whole will generate between 60 and 80 EPDs by the end of 2014. Or 2015, apologies. And next year we will do a similar process, and we're continually working towards developing our EPD generator. So I briefly mentioned, including R&D. So how does sustainable product innovation play a role? Well, this is where you incorporate life cycle analysis as part of the entire process. So the LCA becomes an integral part of the entire innovation process. And really what this helps you do, and it's supposed to be a little bit difficult to see there, but it's the entire life cycle of a product. So it's a real focus on value. So this allows us to do is to reduce the environmental impact of our products where possible. So for example, if we have a mechanical lock, the highest impact is going to be the extraction of the raw material and the manufacturing. Ultimately, it will consume minimal energy during its in-use phase and will be almost fully recyclable at the end of life. Whereas if we have, we're looking to develop an efficient door or an access control system, yes, the manufacturing will be a large part of the impact, but the largest part of the environmental impact for those products will actually be the energy in use, or for the door, for example, the energy it can save. So where we focus here is to really ensure that the products are developed to be as energy efficient as possible and to be as recyclable, if not fully recyclable, at the end of the life. So this has 2 benefits. It helps us to meet our customers' customer demand and to really provide value, but also internally helps us to reduce our costs. So we get to aim to manufacture as efficiently as possible and reduce any unnecessary material. This can be done quite quickly on a CAD-based system. So with SolidWorks sustainability module, you can do a very quick life cycle analysis and compare products against each other. It's based on a foundation level of the GABI software, and is very quick and effective to help designers to try and design as sustainable a product as possible. So EPDs and how do they enhance our brand value? One of the key things that we will use EPDs for, and Jane and Sarah actually touched on this, and that's transparency. So from our company, from an ASSA ABLOY perspective, it helps to increase the transparency of ASSA ABLOY. Sustainability has been an inherent part of everything we do in the group for quite some time now, and EPDs go hand in hand with our sustainability strategy. It allows us to be open and more transparent, but also when we develop EPDs for our products, it allows our customers to be open and transparent with their customers. Ultimately, it improves our stakeholder perception, so that's for our investors, our customers, our employees, and does enhance the value of our brand. By developing EPDs, we're not just reacting to legislation, which is will come at some stage. What we want to do is to get out to influence the market, to drive change, to drive the standards, and be the industry leader in doing that. So we want to always keep ahead of legislation. And because we're a big organisation that are in over 200 countries around the world, and we saw from the Green Building Council map that Jane had put up, green buildings are more mature in some countries than others. But we found that if we have a central strategy from a group perspective, it allows our more mature green markets to develop the needs for now, but also to have the rest of our companies and the rest of our market in a place to be ready to react in line with the market, or even better, ahead of the market to define the market standards. From a product position, very importantly, EPDs effectively give us a license to access and contribute towards green buildings. It allows us to effectively allow our customers to achieve a higher certification. It acts as a driver for innovation. We need to continually innovate in order to meet and exceed our customers' demands. And then also from the included life cycle analysis approach to innovation, it helps us to reduce the energy consumption and environmental impact of our products. This in turn helps our customers to reduce their environmental impact, but also the running costs, which I think is greatly received. Then finally, just to summarise the benefits. So for ASSA ABLOY as a driver, it's a cost reduction, and it helps to increase our profitability while reducing our overall environmental impact. It allows us to be more relevant to our customers. We're looking to exceed our customer expectation. We're looking to generate products that increase our customers' safety, their security, and the convenience. And we can do this through continuous innovation. There are growing green building market opportunities, and developing EPDs allows us to capture those. And ultimately, this reduces the overall business risk. We drive market change, continue to innovate while continuing to drive down our cost. Thank you for your attention.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Charles. That was great. So we'll now go straight into the Q&A session, and we've got a good 10 minutes to get through questions. So please keep sending them in if you do have them. Charles, maybe we'll start with you. We've got a question come in, and someone's asking, do your customers want just an EPD or an EPD with specific performance in terms of impact?
It depends on the different markets. So in the US, for example, EPDs are heavily required, but also on top of that is HPD. So that's a health product declaration to show that there's no risk of to people within the buildings. I think it's well and good for to say that you have a reduced environmental impact. What about during the building life? So there are some requirements to show that there's no impact on people when they're working there.
Great, thank you. Sarah, there's a question here which has come in about costs. And somebody's asking the cost of doing an LCA, if it's high, how do you solve the issues and convince the management team to go ahead with it?
It's tough for me to respond for HP, but my impression is that at the senior management level, there was a commitment to finding a way to design for the environment, to find a solution for design for environment, and they were looking at different options to do that. And the commitment at the senior management level allowed the program director to secure the budget for these activities. And concerning the cost of doing the LCA for HP, we've done several different projects over the past 3 or 4 years, and it would be tough for me to, I don't have access to the budgets for each of those, but for the LaserJet project for all 80, I believe the cost per EPD came out to maybe 3 or 4K per EPD. So it was possible to get the cost down from, maybe 10 times that.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Jane, we've got a question coming. Someone's asking how widely are EPDs being adopted in the UK, and is it a must for the building industry? Can you maybe give a bit of insight into that?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you perfectly.
Okay. They are being. We're seeing an increasing interest in EPDs. There's been some delay in the UK whilst the development of the European standards was going on, and then waiting for BRE to adopt the European standard with a new EPD scheme. I think a lot of people were holding back, but we're seeing a much sort of a take-up now. Effectively, you don't have to have one, and we haven't really yet got a driver like the lead credit, which is driving sort of the rise in EPDs in the States. But it's certainly in some sectors, for example, flooring, kind of gypsum board now, you effectively, if your competitors have them, you have to have them. People are starting to look at them. And it's now starting to be an issue of not just providing an EPD for the average product that you produce, but looking at individual products, being able to differentiate between them. And I think that's when the types of solution that Sarah described, and that we're doing something similar with ASSA, where you can you end up with a tool which you can use for eco-design, so you can actually look at how you can improve your product, but also that it then becomes a much quicker and cheaper and easier process to produce EPDs for all your products. That's really where we're seeing kind of movement now.
Great, thank you, Jane. Sarah, another question for you here. How often should you be looking to reassess products, or is it a sort of continuous, ongoing process?
Well, for an EPD, the EPD is valid for as long as the PCR is valid, or for as long as the product remains the same. So if the product changes or if the PCR goes out of date, then the EPD would need to be reassessed, and the time period of validity of a given PCR is set by that PCR's program operator. So it's usually a period of a year, sometimes 3 years or 4 years, 5 years.
Great. Great. Thanks, Sarah. Charles, another question that's come in for you. Does ASSA ABLOY qualify and manage their suppliers based on sustainability criteria, including suppliers' EPDs?
We don't, I suppose, qualify them on our suppliers' EPDs at the moment. There hasn't been a need to as of yet. I imagine that's what we're working towards. We do have a supplier development program that we're working on, and as I mentioned in the slides, we have a sustainability audit for our suppliers, and the very minimum standard that they need to achieve are the same conditions as the ASSA ABLOY Code of Conduct. So as I said, it's a journey really. I imagine we'll get to that level at one stage. But at the moment we have a sustainability audit that we're driving throughout our supply chain. But it's ongoing development. Yeah.
Thanks, Charles. Jane, another question here which you might like to tackle. How do you currently weigh trade-offs between different EPD indicators or value overall benefits of one product versus another? And have you considered applying natural capital valuations to your EPDs?
Well, before I worked at PE, I worked at BRE, where we had a kind of a weighted environmental indicator called an eco point, which we used to make comparisons between products using life cycle assessment data. I mean, if somebody was to come to me and say that there are all these indicators, how do I choose? I think you basically have to look at what indicators are important to you and your stakeholders, and then go through a process of the way I would recommend to do it, to normalise, so to compare, for example, to the impact of a European citizen, and then to look at the different impacts that how important you think they are, and therefore weight them and get you may only think water and carbon, or carbon and energy, or really a wide range of indicators. I think it's that type of approach. At the moment in construction, generally people are taking carbon numbers and doing assessments just as embodied carbon, because the data isn't there in a way that's really usable to take all kind of 27 indicators that are in an EPD and translate that. But as I say, I think once the kind of BIM really starts using this LCA data and the tools are there, and there's kind of consistency, then I think those types of approaches of weighting will actually be what we end up doing.
Thanks, Jane. So I'm conscious of time. Maybe we can just squeeze in one more question. Sarah, maybe you'd like to tackle it, but someone's asking, with large impacts outside the manufacturer walls, how will EPDs encourage action upon these issues beyond recognition that they just exist?
That's a very good question, and there's no simple answer to engaging your supply chain on carbon impacts. It's a complex problem, and I do know that HP is focusing on design for environment and cartridge design, which has been, from the LCA results we saw today, one of the hot spots. And HP are also doing work on reducing paper use on the user side, but I don't know much about those activities. I do know that on the inkjet side, they have developed some new products which are page-wide printers, which are designed for faster inkjet color printing, but they're designed to take some of the consumable part of the cartridge and integrate it into the printer so that they have less consumable material. The cartridge is more of a permanent fixture in the printer, and that's something new that's come out that is interesting.
Brilliant. Great. Thank you very much, Sarah. So that's all we've got time for now, but I'd just like to thank Jane, Sarah and Charles for their time today and for getting through so many questions, and also for everyone who's joined us for this webinar. Just to remind you all that a recording of the webinar and the presentation slides will be archived on the 2 Degrees platform, and as soon as that goes live, we'll send out an email with the links to that, together with any supporting content which might be of interest. So I hope you found today interesting and useful, and that you'll be able to join us for further webinars in the coming months. So thank you, everyone.